The second part of the perineum or the second triangle is the anal triangle. Again, what is the boundary of the perineum? This is the perineum in lithotomy position, again between semicircular pubis in front and the two ischial tuberosity and the pubic arch. And this line between this is representing pubic arch, and this is the tip of the sacrum, and this is line represent sacrotuberous ligament. We divide the perineum into two triangles, anterior triangle which is urogenital triangle, and the posterior triangle which is anal triangle. Anterior triangle which is urogenital triangle, and the posterior triangle which is the anal triangle. We discussed now the anal triangle. In this triangle there are anal canal. We discussed in the lecture with the large intestine, and the space surrounds the anal canal which is called Ischio-rectal Fossa. Again, this is the levator ani muscle. Below the levator ani, this is the perineum, or which is divided into two parts, anterior part urogenital triangle and the posterior part anal triangle. This is the anal canal. This is the levator ani muscle. This is the anal canal. This is the coronal section, and this is the levator ani muscle. And this is the lateral wall of the pelvis. And this muscle, obturator internus muscle, covered by fascia called obturator fascia. In the obturator fascia there are canal called Pudendal canal. The anal canal surrounded by space called Ischio-rectal Fossa. Very, very important. So we must know the boundaries of the Ischio-rectal Fossa and the contents of the Ischio-rectal Fossa. This is the anal canal, and this is the Ischio-rectal Fossa in between. Again, this is the semicircular pubis. This is the pubic arch. This is the tip of the sacrum, and this is the sacrotuberous ligament. By line, we divide the perineum into urogenital triangle and anal triangle. This is the opening of the anal canal. In this triangle, anal triangle, we must know two structures. Anal canal, structure of the anal canal, we discussed with large intestine, and this is space which surrounds the anal canal. This space is called Ischio-rectal Fossa. Ischio-rectal Fossa space. Any space in anatomy, we must know the boundaries, roof, floor, and so on boundaries, and what is the content of this space. We begin by the boundaries of the Ischio-rectal Fossa. Again, we can make another diagram for Ischio-rectal Fossa. Lateral wall of the pelvis, there are opening in this area. It's called obturator foramen. Like this. This is the obturator foramen. This is the levator ani muscle. This is the levator ani muscle present here. And this line, this is anal triangle. And this space here is Ischio-rectal Fossa. What is lateral of the Ischio-rectal Fossa? This foramen, obturator foramen. But the obturator foramen, there are muscle called obturator internus muscle. obturator internus muscle. The obturator internus muscle lined by obturator fascia. This is the anal canal. Levator ani muscle take origin from this fascia. This is the levator ani muscle. So this space surround the anal canal. This space is called Ischio-rectal Fossa. Remember, in the obturator fascia there are canal called Pudendal canal. So what is there are fascia here, fascia due to the levator ani, and there are muscles surround the anal canal called external anal sphincter. External anal sphincter. So what is the boundaries of the Ischio-rectal Fossa from these two diagrams? What is above, what below, what medial, and what lateral? What's the anterior, what's posterior? Laterally, obturator internus muscle and obturator fascia and the Pudendal canal. Medially, this sloping like this, sloping pelvic fascia and external anal sphincter. Lateral, medial. So, superior, this is the apex of the Ischio-rectal Fossa, meeting of the pelvic fascia with the obturator internus. Inferiorly, the skin and superficial fascia. Anteriorly, in this area, there are perineal membrane. Posteriorly, this ligament, sacrotuberous ligament, and the muscle take origin from this ligament called the gluteus maximus muscle. This is the boundaries of the Ischio-rectal Fossa. Boundaries. What is the content? The Ischio-rectal Fossa, the main content fat. Main content fat. Fat present here. Semi-liquid fat. Semi-liquid fat to allow dilatation of the anal canal during defecation. And in this canal, Pudendal canal contains internal pudendal artery and internal pudendal vein and pudendal nerve. From these structures, branches present in the Ischio-rectal Fossa. Branches as called inferior-rectal artery and vein. Also nerve, inferior-rectal. Also scrotal to supply external genitalia in male, scrotal and labial in female. This is the main content. The content of the Pudendal canal and the branches from this structure present in the Pudendal canal. Again, Ischio-rectal Fossa. This is the Ischio-rectal Fossa. It is a wedge-shaped space wedge-shaped, situated in each side of the anal canal. The apex upward, with base downward. The base downward formed by perineal skin and the fascia. The skin and fascia. The apex, this is the apex level meeting, direct upward, formed by the meeting of the medial and the lateral wall of the fossa. The lateral and the medial wall of the fossa. The origin of the levator ani muscle. Anteriorly, the posterior border of the perineal membrane. Posteriorly, sacrotuberous ligament and the gluteus maximus muscle. Takes origin from this ligament. Lateral wall, obturator internus muscle and obturator fascia and the Pudendal canal, including Pudendal canal. Medial wall, sloping, formed by levator ani muscle and external anal sphincter. This is the boundaries of the Ischio-rectal Fossa from this diagram. Or the same diagram. This is the anal canal, this is the levator ani, this is obturator internus and obturator fascia, and this is pudendal canal, which is the obturator fascia. This is the ischio-rectal fossa. What is the contents of the ischio-rectal fossa? Semi-liquid fat, inferior rectal nerve, from the pudendal nerve, inferior rectal artery and vein, from the internal pudendal artery and vein, scrotal in male, labial in female nerve and vessels, perineal branch also of Ischio-4, perineal branch of Ischio-4 also present as a content of the ischio-rectal fossa. Remember, as applied anatomy, sometimes chronic infection occur here, chronic infection in the ischio-rectal fossa. Due to, is called perianal abscess. Perianal abscess. The perianal abscess may be leading to canal present from this area due to chronic abscess. Canal present in this area, so there are opening near the anal canal called perianal fistula. Fistula, communication between anal canal and outside near the opening of the anal canal, our anus. It's very important. In the infection in this ischio-rectal fossa, chronic infection and chronic and the past present here leading to fistula, perianal fistula, as applied anatomy. Related to the perineum, we discuss nerve and artery related to the perineum, which is a pudendal nerve and internal pudendal artery. Pudendal nerve and internal pudendal artery. I start by pudendal nerve. What is the pudendal nerve? The pudendal nerve is a branch from the sacral plexus. Branch from sacral plexus. The pudendal nerve origin or the origin from S2, S3 and S4 in the pelvis as a sacral plexus, present in the pelvis from S2, S3 and S4. Then the nerve comes out from this space, which is the greater sciatic notch. The nerve comes out from here, from the greater sciatic notch. Then the nerve, after coming here, it enters the perineum like this. Enters the perineum and enter in the pudendal canal. What is the pudendal canal? The pudendal canal present inside the obturator fascia. Again, suppose this is the greater sciatic notch, this is the ischial spine, and this is the this is the greater sciatic notch. This is the ischial spine, and this is the lesser sciatic notch. So the nerve, pudendal nerve, comes out from the greater sciatic notch. Then it turns and enter through the lesser sciatic notch and enter the pudendal canal. The nerve enters the pudendal canal, then it gives its two terminal branches. Again, what is the course of the pudendal nerve? The origin from S2, S3 and S4. The nerve comes out through the greater sciatic notch, then it turns above the ischial spine and enters through the ischial sciatic notch and enters the perineum and runs in the pudendal canal. This is the course of the pudendal nerve. What is the branches of the nerve? What is the branches of this nerve? At first, inside the canal, it gives inferior rectal inferior rectal nerve. Then also inside the pudendal canal, but from anterior, it gives two scrotal branches in female labial. Two scrotal or labial, either in male scrotal, in female labial. Then it gives terminal branches, two terminal branches. Dorsal nerve of penis in female clitoris, dorsal nerve of clitoris, and perineal nerve and perineal nerve. This is the branches of pudendal nerve. Again, this is the pudendal nerve, an origin from S2, S3, S4. The nerve comes out through the greater sciatic notch, then run above the back of the ischial spine and enter through the lesser sciatic notch and enter the pudendal canal and gives its branches. Inferior rectal, scrotal or labial, dorsal nerve of penis or clitoris, and perineal nerve. Pudendal nerve origin. One of two terminal branch of sacral plexus. Root value of the pudendal nerve is 2, S3, S4. Termination, it gives two terminal branches, dorsal nerve of the penis or clitoris and perineal nerve. Course of the nerve accompanies the internal pudendal artery. It leaves the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen below the piriformis muscle to reach the gluteal region. In the gluteal region, it crosses the back of the ischial spine, between the pudendal nerve medially and nerve to obtrude internus laterally. Then it leaves the gluteal region and enters the lesser sciatic foramen to reach perineum and run inside the pudendal canal. Enters the pudendal canal it enters the deep perineal pouch where it is ascend along the side of the pelvic arch. Termination by piercing perineal membrane, short distance between surfaces pelvis comes out through the greater sciatic notch, then turn it in the back of the ischial spine and enters through the lesser sciatic notch and run inside the pudendal canal. Branches inferior rectal run in the Ischio-rectal Fossa to supply the inner surface of the levator ani and external anal sphincter. Perineal nerve, larger of the two terminal branches. This perineal nerve gives the scrotal or labial branches, who gives the muscular branches to the all muscles of the perineum and the sphincter of the urethra. Dorsal nerve of the penis or clitoris, one of the two terminal branches, dorsal nerve and the perineal nerve. Again, this diagram, this is the root value of the pudendal nerve S2, S3, and S4, comes out through the great sciatic notch and on the back of the ischial spine enters through the lesser sciatic notch and run within the pudendal canal to cause inferior rectal, scrotal or labial, and gives two terminal branches, dorsal nerve of the penis and the perineal nerve. Also related to the perineum, internal pudendal artery. Internal pudendal artery is a branch from internal iliac, anterior division of the internal iliac. So a branch from the anterior division of the internal iliac. Also, like the nerve, it comes out through the greater sciatic notch and on the back of the ischial spine and enter through the lesser sciatic notch to enter the pudendal canal. Enter the pudendal canal and gives terminal branches. This is the course of the internal pudendal artery. The internal pudendal artery branch from the internal iliac anterior division comes out through the greater sciatic notch and on the back of ischial spine and enter the lesser sciatic notch and enter the pudendal canal and gives the terminal branches. Branches of the internal branches of the pudendal nerve also gives inferior rectal runs in the Ischio-rectal Fossa. Also gives branches called scrotal or labial. From the scrotal or labial, it gives what's called transverse perineal artery. Also, it gives what's called the artery of the bulb of the penis, artery of the bulb of the penis, or the bulb in female called the artery of the bulb of the vestibule. Then it gives terminal branches, dorsal artery of the penis in male, but in female dorsal artery of clitoris, and deep artery of the penis in female, deep artery of the clitoris. Again, course and the branches of the internal pudendal artery. It is a branch from the internal area, comes out through the greater sciatic notch, and then it enters the lesser sciatic notch and run within the pudendal canal and gives branches. In the pudendal canal, it gives inferior rectal, also gives labial or scrotal. From the labial or scrotal arteries gives transverse perineal artery. Then it gives artery of the bulb of the penis in male and the bulb of the clitoris of the vestibule in female. Then it gives the two terminal branches, dorsal artery of the penis in female clitoris, with deep artery of the penis in female clitoris. This is the internal pudendal artery. Internal pudendal artery. Inside the pelvis, two terminal branches of the anterior division of the internal iliac, one branch from the internal iliac. Of course, it leaves the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen below the piriformis muscle to reach the gluteal region. In the gluteal region, it crosses the back of the ischial spine, between the pudendal nerve medially and nerve to obtrude internus laterally. Then it leaves the gluteal region and enters the lesser sciatic foramen to reach the perineum and accompanied by pudendal nerve and run inside the pudendal canal. Enters the pudendal canal it enters the deep perineal pouch where it is ascend along the side of the pelvic arch, termination by piercing the perineal membrane short distance between symphysis pubis and went into deep and dorsal artery of the penis. Branches inferior rectal run in the Ischio-rectal Fossa, scrotal or labial in male and female, artery of the bulb of the penis or bulb of the vestibule, deep artery of the penis or dorsal artery of the penis. This is the branches of the internal pudendal artery. Inferior rectal, perineal artery, posterior scrotal, artery of the bulb, the penis, urethral artery, and so on. With deep artery of the penis, with dorsal artery, dorsal of the penis, and deep artery of the penis. Again, what is the pudendal canal? It is a fascial tunnel in the lateral wall of the ischio-rectal fossa, containing pudendal nerve and internal pudendal vessels. Formation by splitting of the fascia covering obtruder internus muscle, content pudendal nerve and internal pudendal vessels. As applied anatomy of the pudendal nerve, what's called the pudendal nerve block. We do pudendal nerve block during labor. We do pudendal nerve block during labor to produce what is called labor without pain. Labor without pain. Remember, the pudendal nerve comes out from the sacral plexus and comes out through the greater sciatic notch and run on the back of the ischial spine. So if we inject local anesthesia near the pudendal nerve, we do what's called pudendal nerve block. This is the pudendal nerve. Pudendal nerve block, it is used in providing analgesia for second stage of labor and provide anesthesia of the perineum in order to create or repair an episiotomy. The pudendal nerve block we do through either what's called transverse vaginal method or perineal method. Transverse vaginal, the needle is passed through the vaginal mucosal membrane towards the ischial spine. Towards the ischial spine. After the needle is passed through the sacrospinous ligament, the anesthesia solution is injected around the pudendal nerve. But through the vagina, we make what's called BV, and the finger attached the ischial spine and inject the anesthesia near this ischial spine. Perineal method. The ischial tuberosity is palpated. We palpate at first ischial tuberosity subcutaneously through the buttocks. The needle is inserted on the medial side of the ischial tuberosity. يبقى medial to the ischial tuberosity. To a depth of 1 inch, about 2 centimeters deep to the ischial tuberosity, from the free surface of the tuberosity. The anesthesia is injected around the pudendal nerve. Pudendal nerve block we make through the vagina, and the finger feel the ischial spine, then a needle inject anesthesia. We inject anesthesia through the vagina at near the ischial spine, or this is the ischial tuberosity. We can feel the ischial tuberosity. Then medial to the ischial tuberosity, we enter the needle about 2.5 centimeters and inject anesthesia. Ischial tuberosity and inject, and the needle enter 2.5 centimeters, then inject anesthesia. Levator ani muscle, also we discuss levator ani muscle. This is muscle form what is called the pelvic diaphragm. The levator ani muscle and coccygeus muscle form what's called pelvic diaphragm. Pelvic diaphragm form of 2 muscles, levator ani and coccygeus. This muscle is called levator ani, formed of 3 parts, in red color, green color, and black color. Anterior fibers, intermediate fibers, and posterior fibers. And another muscle in this red color called the coccygeus. The levator ani and the coccygeus form pelvic diaphragm. The origin of the levator ani from the side and the meeting in the center in the perineal body and in the coccygeal body. There are 2 spaces. This anterior space in male, the prostate comes out through this space. In female, the vagina comes out. But this space in male and female, the anal canal, the rectum continues as anal canal. So what is the origin? What is the insertion of the levator ani? Origin and the insertion of the levator ani muscle. Levator ani muscle take origin from the body of the symphysis pubis, and this muscle called obturator internus muscle. The obturator internus muscle lined by obturator fascia. So the levator ani muscle take origin from the body of the symphysis pubis and take origin from the obturator fascia called the tendinous arch. Then it take origin from the ischial spine. We can draw diagram like this. Origin of the muscle from the body of the symphysis pubis, then line This line which cover obturator internus muscle, and this is the ischial spine. Ischial spine and line which lines the obturator internus muscle. The levator ani muscle, fibers comes to the medially and meeting in the center. Remember, there are opening here and opening here. The muscle fibers, anterior fibers of the muscles, surround this gap. In this gap, in male, prostate comes out, in female, vagina. So these fibers, in male called levator, prostate. In female, it's called sphincter vagina. These fibers meeting in the middle in the perineal body. This opening of the levator ani, this second opening, rectum, continue as anal canal. So the fibers, the middle fibers here, which is surround rectum, continue as anal canal, called pubo-rectalis sling. Anterior fibers in male called the levator prostate, and in female called the sphincter vagina. The intermediate fiber, this opening is rectum, and the fibers which surround the rectum here called pubo-rectalis and pubo-coccygeus. Pubo-rectalis and pubo-coccygeus. In green color, pubo-rectalis and pubo-coccygeus. But intermediate anterior fibers, intermediate fibers or posterior fibers. And anterior fibers in male called levator prostate, in female called sphincter vagina. Intermediate fibers, pubo-rectalis and pubo-coccygeus. Posterior fibers in red color called the Ischio-coccygeus. This is the levator ani, formed of three parts: anterior, intermediate, and posterior. Another muscle present posteriorly from the ischial spine to the tip of the sacrum, called coccygeus. The levator ani and the coccygeus muscle called the pelvic diaphragm. Again, in this model, this is the levator ani muscle. It takes origin from the body of the pubic bone and the line which line from the obturator fascia called the tendinous line, and from the ischial spine, meeting in the center, in the middle, and what into anterior fibers, intermediate fibers, and posterior fibers. Anterior fibers which line this gap in male called the levator prostate or sphincter vaginae. Intermediate fibers called pubo-rectalis and pubo-coccygeus, and the posterior fibers called Ischio-coccygeus. Then this muscle in red color called the coccygeus muscle from the ischial spine to the tip of the coccyx. This muscle meeting in two central mass, perineal body, and the anococcygeal body or ref. This is the levator ani muscle and the coccygeus, which is the pelvic diaphragm. The nerve supply, it takes nerve supply from the superior surface and from the inferior surface. From the superior surface, perineal branch of the fourth sacral nerve, sacral number 4, perineal branch. From the perineal surface, from down, it takes perineal branch from the perineal nerve, which is a branch from the Pudendal nerve. This is the nerve supply. The action of the levator ani, it supports the pelvic organs. So tear of this muscle leading to prolapse, especially prolapse of uterus and vagina. Also, action of levator ani, contraction of the levator ani increase intra-abdominal pressure in expulsive action during micturition, defecation, during labor, and so on. Pelvic floor. Pelvic floor formed of two muscles, levator ani muscle and coccygeus muscle. Levator ani muscle origin from the body of the pubic bone, and from this white line from the obturator fascia, lining of obturator internus muscle, by back of the body of the pubis, tendinous arch, which formed by thickening of the fascia covering obturator internus muscle, and ischial spine. The muscle inserted in the middle, divided into anterior fibers, intermediate fibers, and posterior fibers. Anterior fibers in male surround this gap, which is called in male levator prostate, and in female called sphincter vagina. The anterior fibers. Intermediate fibers, puborectalis and pubococcygeus. These fibers form puborectalis and the pubococcygeal part of the levator ani muscle. It forms sling around the junction of the rectum and anal canal. The pubococcygeus pass posterior towards the coccyx and insert into the small fibrous mass called anococcygeal body. Posterior fibers of iliococcygeus muscle inserted into anococcygeal body. Nerve supply. This muscle have double nerve supply from superior surface and inferior surface, innervated by perineal branch of the fourth sacral nerve. It receives nerve from the perineal branch of the pudendal nerve from the lower surface. Action. The levator ani of two sides collectively form efficient muscular support for the pelvic viscera. Support the pelvic viscera with sling-like sphincter surround the rectum, lower end of the rectum and anal canal, will increase intra-abdominal pressure during expulsive action as coughing, micturition, defecation, and so on. Blood supply of the pelvis mainly from the internal iliac artery. Remember, this is the abdominal aorta divided into two common iliac, right and the left common iliac. The common iliac divided into internal iliac and external iliac. Internal iliac and external iliac. The internal iliac artery enters the pelvis. The internal iliac artery enters the pelvis. Then the internal iliac artery in the pelvis divided into anterior division and posterior division. Internal iliac artery divided into posterior division and anterior division. Again, this is the internal iliac artery divided into posterior division and anterior division. What is the branch of the posterior division? What is the branch of the anterior division? The branches of the posterior division common in male and female, the same. It gives three branches. First branch ascend upward, called ilio-lumbar. Second branch formed of two branches to enter the sacral foramina. We have four sacral foramina. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two arteries called the lateral sacral arteries. Each artery divided into two to enter the sacral foramina. هنا lateral sacral arteries 2. The third branch comes out through the greater sciatic notch called superior gluteal. Through the greater sciatic notch, this branch is called superior gluteal. Again, three branches. First branch ilio-lumbar, second lateral sacral, two branches, each branch divided into two, and third branch superior gluteal. This is a branch of the posterior division, common in male and female. branches from the anterior division different in male and female. In male, there are pelvic organs in male: urinary bladder, and this is the prostate, and this is the rectum. The branches of the anterior division, we can divide this branch into two groups supplying organs called the visceral branches, and the group supplying the wall and the muscle called parietal branches. The parietal branches the same in male and female. Branch comes out through the greater sciatic notch called inferior gluteal. Remember, superior gluteal from the posterior division, inferior gluteal from the anterior division, superior S from the posterior S, superior gluteal from the posterior division, inferior gluteal from the anterior division. Then another artery also comes out through the greater sciatic notch and enters the perineum called internal Pudendal. About two arteries comes out through the greater sciatic notch from the anterior division, inferior gluteal and internal Pudendal. The third artery comes out through obturator foramen called obturator artery. About parietal branches in male and female the same. Branch comes out through the obturator foramen called obturator artery, with two arteries comes out from the greater sciatic, which is inferior gluteal and Pudendal artery, internal Pudendal artery. This is called the parietal branches, the same in male and female. Right. Visceral branches in male. There are artery go to umbilicus called umbilical artery, have important function in the fetal life. Umbilical artery. From the umbilical artery, branch descend to supply in urinary bladder called the superior vesicle. Superior vesicle. The umbilical artery later on, this part obliterate, the lower distal part. Obliterate this part only, not the whole. First branch called umbilical artery, which gives the superior vesicle. Second branch supply in bladder and supply prostate called inferior vesicle. Inferior vesicle. The superior vesicle from the umbilical and inferior vesicle. Third artery supplies the rectum called the middle rectal. Middle rectal. So three visceral branches in male: umbilical, which gives superior vesicle, inferior vesicle, and the middle rectal. This is this is visceral branches in male. In female, what is the organs in female? In female, this is the urinary bladder, and this is the uterus, and this is the vagina, and this is the rectum. Visceral branches in female, in pelvic organ in female different from the male: bladder, uterus, vagina, rectum. Again, this artery to the umbilicus, like male, called umbilical artery. Umbilical artery, which gives superior vesical artery, which gives superior vesical artery, like male. In female, there are no inferior vesical artery. But this artery in female supplying vagina called vaginal artery. And this artery supplying the uterus called the uterine artery. Vaginal and uterine artery. And like male, also artery which supply a rectum called middle rectal. Middle rectal. So four branches in female, umbilical, which gives supravesical, uterine and vaginal, and middle rectal. This is the visceral branches. Remember, parietal branches in male and female is the same. So the anterior division of the internal iliac artery gives visceral branches and parietal branches. And parietal branches is the same in male and female. Inferior gluteal, internal pudendal, and obturator artery. But the visceral branches in female, umbilical, which gives supravesical, middle uterine, vaginal, and middle rectal. The posterior division, the same in male and female, gives iliolumbar, lateral sacral 2, and superior gluteal. This is internal iliac artery and its branches. The uterine artery is very important again. We must remember a relation between the uterine artery and the ureter. The uterine artery crossing in front of the ureter, lateral to the vagina and cervix of the uterus, 1 inch crossing. Pelvic blood vessels, again, this is a common iliac, but into internal iliac and external iliac. The internal iliac got into posterior division and anterior division. This is abdominal aorta, divided into 2 common iliac, and it's common iliac. The common iliac divided into internal iliac with external iliac. Internal iliac divided into posterior division and anterior division. Branches of the anterior iliac artery branch from the posterior division common in both sexes, in male and female, iliolumbar, lateral sacral, and superior gluteal. Branches from the anterior division of the anterior iliac, parietal branches common in male and female, obturator artery, internal pudendal artery, inferior gluteal. Visceral branches different in male and female, umbilical artery gives supravesical, middle rectal, inferior vesical in male, but in female it gives uterine artery and vagina. Inferior vesical in male replaced by vaginal in female. Iliolumbar artery, lateral sacral artery enters the sacrum, superior gluteal comes out to the gluteal region. From the anterior division, obturator artery comes out from the obturator foramen, which gives the obturator artery gives the pelvic branch. Umbilical artery to the umbilicus, which gives supravesical. The umbilical artery, this part obliterates to form a lateral umbilical ligament. The umbilical artery gives supravesical branch. Then inferior vesical artery in male only, inferior vesical to the bladder and prostate, replaced in vagina called the vaginal artery. Middle rectal artery supplies the rectum. Internal pudendal artery comes out to the gluteal region, then enters the perineum. Pudendal comes out. Inferior gluteal artery from the anterior division. Remember this relation between uterine artery and the ureter. Crossing of the uterine artery and the ureter lateral to the cervix and the vagina. 1 inch lateral to the cervix and the vagina. This crossing, very important relation.